Hi guys, so in this video we're going to be taking a quick look at the new Unraid 6.10 RC1 and seeing what's new. Sounds interesting? Then let's get started.
Good news, everyone! I have something to show you.
Is that the newly released Unraid 6.10 RC1, Professor?
Damn straight!
Okay, great. Yeah, it was released at the weekend, wasn't it? Maybe I should just give a little history of Unraid.
Oh my, no.
Why not? I did that the last time an Unraid was released.
Please, there's no time for this now. Any more ridiculous ideas?
Okay, shall I just jump right in and just show what's new then?
That question is less stupid.
Okay, I guess I'll just jump in and start then.
Oh, well, that's good enough for me.
Okay then, I can take it from here. I'll see you later then, Professor.
So long!
Okay, so here we are on a server that's currently running 6.9.2. And before we do any upgrades, let's do some pre-upgrade checks. The first thing I like to do is go to the plugins tab here and hit check for updates, and then make sure to update all of the plugins. So I've only got one to update. And also I think it's a good idea to do the same for Docker as well. Again, check for updates and then hit update all. And once you've done that, then go back to the main tab, click onto flash drive and then hit flash backup. This is just in case anything goes wrong, at least you've got a whole complete backup of the flash drive. Okay, so that's done. Now along at the top here you can see that I don't have the community applications plugin installed, so I don't have an apps tab. Now this is deliberate. Obviously I used to have it installed, that's how I installed all my plugins and containers. I've removed it before this video because now from 6.10 onwards it's possible to install community applications, or what's known as the apps tab, with just a click of a button on new installs. So that's why I removed it, so I can show that in a moment. So no, before upgrading you don't need to remove any plugins this time, nothing at all, everything will be fine. So the next thing to do is go to Tools and click onto Update OS. Now you're going to have to change from Stable Branch here onto Next, as this is an RC version that's available. And we can see here that 6.10 RC1 is available. So click onto Install and that will pull down the update. And once that's done, you guessed it, click onto Done. And now we're going to need to reboot the server. So let's reboot the server now. Go back to the main tab and just at the top I'm going to click onto Reboot. Okay, and so once the server's rebooted, if you didn't have a password set for your server, then this is now mandatory as a security update, and you can choose any password you want up to 128 characters. Wow, that's a lot, isn't it? It's like a small book. Well, mine's not going to be quite that long, that's for sure. So with the password popped in twice, I'm going to click Set Password. Okay, so with the password set, I'm now back at the dashboard. Before we go any further, I'm just going to go across the tools here and back to Update OS. Now obviously this version is an RC, which means release candidate, it's not the stable version. So should you have any problems, it's very easy to go back to the old version. You can see here my old version of 6.92 is available. All you have to do to go back to it is click onto Restore and then reboot the server. Okay, so let's go back to the main tab. Now we can straight away see a difference at the top here. We've got the option to sign in. Now people who have been using the My Servers plugin will recognise this, but it now seems like the My Servers plugin's kind of been split into two individual parts. This first part is now integrated into the OS and it's called the UPC, or the User Profile Component. And what this is for is it links your Unraid forum login with that of your server and its license key. This allows a license key to be installed automatically, not having to copy and paste in the URL like we used to have to. And also Limetech can push out security notifications if vulnerabilities are discovered. And obviously we need the UPC component in order for the My Servers plugin to work. But the My Servers plugin is an optional install. It has to be installed separately. Now the last thing here, there's a new kind of forum board, a special My Servers forum board. Let's go across and take a look at that now. So this is the My Servers sub forum. We've got support, feedback and feature polls. So to add a post here, you have to actually be a member of the forum and have your server linked to your account. Obviously Limetech want to encourage the use of, all these new features they've been making. And I guess the reason the feature polls are here is because they want to be sure that people voting for the new things coming in Unraid are actually real Unraid users and not just random people on the site who don't use the OS. With that being said, in my opinion, I think these polls should be open to everyone, and hopefully in the future they'll be moved to the main part of the forum. Now, I'm sure some of you watching this are going to be thinking, well, I'm not really sure about having to actually sign in with anything on my server. I know a lot of us guys, we got our servers because we wanted to self-host everything, and people who run their own server tend to be more privacy aware than those who don't. So I just want to point out that you don't actually have to stay logged in. The only time you actually have to log in is if you're provisioning a license key. If you've already got a license key or you don't have to get a new one, then you can stay signed out all of the time if you want to. And just to demonstrate this, I'm not going to sign in at all during this tutorial, just to show that everything works without being signed in. Okay, so moving on, I just want to mention users again. You can see after I rebooted the server after installing the upgrade to 6.10, that now Unraid OS has improved its security by making it essential that we have to have a password for the root user that's used to manage the server. And we can see here that the users are split up with a management user and also the users to access the shares. This was different in the earlier versions of Unraid, and if we pop across onto another server that's yet to be upgraded, we can see the difference here. Just the one section how it's displayed. And another difference is the root user itself. If we click onto it here, then scroll down, there's a part here for SSH keys. If we've provisioned SSH keys, we'll see the authorized keys here. So again, if I go across onto another server, onto one which I do have SSH keys, you can see them stored here. Okay, so that's the differences with the user accounts. Now let's have a look at how we install community applications on a new system. Now, before I did an upgrade, there was no apps tab on the top bar here because I'd actually removed the community applications plugin to kind of simulate what it would be like for a new user who needed to install community applications. And if we look at the plugins here, it isn't here. So when you don't have community applications installed on a fresh install, from 6.10 onwards, you're going to have the apps tab here. And when you click onto it, then there's a button to easily be able to install that. So that's a really good feature. A lot of new users were often confused as to why they didn't see an apps tab and why this wasn't built in directly to the system. So in my opinion, a really good update. So other things that are now built in that weren't before, if I go to settings here, you can see I've got a VPN manager here. So the Wireguard plugin is now built into Unraid. You don't need to install it anymore. And for anyone who had the original Wireguard plugin installed before upgrade, don't worry. During the upgrade process, the original plugin's actually removed, but all of the configuration for your Wireguard tunnels, they're imported across, so you don't lose anything and you don't need to worry about anything during the upgrade. The whole process is automatic and everything's taken care of in the background during the upgrade. Okay, again, let's go back to the main tab here. Now, one thing we can see is the GUI looks slightly different. On the right hand side here, the buttons to view the files, they've now changed. Again, if we go back to a server on 6.9, we can see on that version, the icon's slightly different. Reminds me of an old kind of Windows icon. So personally, in my opinion, this looks much more fresh and modern and up to date. And also if we go across to the dashboard, we'll see some differences there too. If we scroll down where the processor is, we've got this nice graph here now, which will show the CPU usage. And if we click here, this is how often it's updated. By default, it's set for every 30 seconds. And if you don't want to see this at all, if you click onto this button here, it will hide this and it'll be back to how it was before. Now, one thing to notice on 6.10 is I can see the temperature of my CPU here. But if I go to settings and then to system temp, we can see here it says Perl must be installed to do an automated driver detection. Now, before updating, Perl was installed. And Perl's installed using the Nerd Pack. Now, because there's been a major update, the Nerd Pack hasn't yet been updated in order to work properly with 6.10, so that's why you see Perl saying it's not installed. But the temperature part is still working fine, because Perl's just used to detect which driver to use to detect the temperature and doesn't actually sense the temperature itself. So this won't really affect most people. It will only affect you if you're reliant on something installed from the Nerd Pack, because it won't work until the Nerd Pack's been updated. I'm sure it'll be soon, probably only just a few days, but until then, all installed packages from the Nerd Pack are probably not going to work. Okay, so now let's go back to the dashboard, and we were just talking about this nice graph for the CPU. Well, according to the release notes, I think there should also be one for the network adapter, but I don't see it here. In fact, I'll just swap over to my other server. And scrolling down to the network here, no, it's not here either. Obviously it's something that's just been left out, and I'm sure it'll be added in the next update. Okay, so what else looks different? Yep, the terminal, if I open the terminal window here on 6.10, the actual font is slightly bigger in the terminal now, which I think is good. I'm just going to open it in the other server on 6.9 to show you it side by side. So there it is before and after. Okay, so for the next thing I'm going to show you, I'm going to take you to my main server, also on 6.10. Now, it used to be when you had a lot of Docker containers, when you clicked on the Docker tab, it could take quite a long time for it to open. Now, this seems a lot quicker to me. You know, I've got quite a few containers here, and also the same on the plugins page as well. This has been speeded up too. Okay, so that's much faster than it used to be. You know, I've got quite a few plugins here. Both the Docker page and the plugin page used to take quite a while sometimes when I used to click onto them. Okay, so moving on. Now, one of my favourite upgrades is over in the VM section. This is something I've been asking for a long time, so I'm so glad it's here. So let's edit the VM here. And if we scroll down, under Network Model, we've now got VirtIO Net, VirtIO, a virtual Intel E1000 network adapter, and the VMware VMX Net 3. So this is really great. And the Libvirt and the QEMU have been updated. We're on QEMU 6 now, so we've got things like i440FX 6.0 and Q35 6.0. So another nice VM update there. And for those who are wondering which Docker version we're using now, in this version of Unraid it's 20.10.6. Okay, so just to finish off, let's look through the release notes. While I've mentioned UPC and my servers, the security changes, we've seen that we need a root password. New configurations, the flash share by default isn't exported, so that's good. And for any new share you create, the default sharing export is set to no. New configurations, SMBv1's disabled. And for new configurations, now this won't affect you if you've got this enabled already, Telnet, SSH and FTP are disabled. Virtualization, well, we just looked at that. For people who run GUI mode, the Firefox browser's now been put into an app image, and this saves about 60 megs of RAM. We've seen the Wireguard plugin, and we've seen now how Community Applications is installed. There's been a change to how the Let's Encrypt SSL provisioning is done. The Linux kernel's now on 5.13.8, and loads of the base packages have been updated. We looked at this part here where it says there's some charts for the CPU and network. Like I said, I couldn't see the network myself. The WSD server component's been updated, and a few other fixes here. We looked at the terminal font size increase, and just to see all the packages that have been updated, well, let's scroll through them, there's loads, and the list goes on. Okay, well, that's pretty much all the changes I can see. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of things I've forgotten to mention, and if there's things you found in 6.10 that I haven't said, then please put them in the comments below. I'll read them, then combine them all to a comment that I'll post at the top, and add all the things that you guys have seen that I haven't, so when people are watching this video they can just look there and see the things I haven't mentioned. Okay guys, I'm going to bring it to an end now and wrap up this video. If you liked it then please hit the like button, and if you think any of your friends will like it then please share the video with them. To everyone that supports this channel I want to give a huge thanks. Thank you guys, I really appreciate your support. Without you guys I couldn't do these videos. Anyway guys, it's getting late here so I'm going to go, but whatever you're up to for the rest of the day, I hope it's good, and I'll catch you in the next video.